Okay. Hi everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to virtual learning. We had a really awesome first week. We did a really great job logging in and figuring out what we needed to do, submitting our assignments. Little note is just make sure that you're checking your assignments after you submit them. Try to check them like later on in the day or that evening or even the next day. If there's feedback, if there's something that we need you to fix or correct, if you made a goofball and we noted it, want to make sure that you're going back and you're fixing it and then you're resubmitting it so that we know that you know what you're doing, okay? And it's really just the same idea that if we give you your math journal, we're not just going to correct it and give you the right answers. We correct it, let you know that there's something wrong and give it back to you, then you fix it and you bring it back. So we're trying to keep the same process, but just digitally and in our new virtual world, okay? So really great first week. We're going to dive right in this week and try to do some lessons in Unit 6. We talked about Unit 6 leading up to it in Unit 5, and we looked at decimals in Unit 4, and we talked about how we were really going to dive into decimals with multiplying and dividing in Unit 6. A lot of important skills that I need you to know before you get to 6th grade. So we're really going to try to do this and do it the best way that we can. I'm going to have you doing journal pages and then submitting them either on a doc or kind of filling out your answers. And we're figuring this all out together. So let's just kind of go day at a time. So today we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. We looked at powers of 10 at the very beginning of the year when we were talking about our place value system. So we know that we have our decimal point. All of our numbers to the left of the decimal point are whole numbers. And then we have our numbers to the right of the decimal point. Those are our fractions or our decimals, right? And those are numbers less than 1. For 5th grade, we're really stopping at the thousandths place. But what's the big takeaway here for our powers of 10? We want to know that as we shift to the left, we are multiplying by 10. That's this adding a 0. What we're doing is we're multiplying by 10. So then as we go to the right, we are dividing by 10, or we are 1/10 of the place on the left, okay? So we're looking at this idea when we're multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. Let's just start with a whole number. So if we have 4 times 10 to the power of 3, what is that? That's 4 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 times 10. 10 to the power of 3. 1,000. 4 times 1,000 is 4,000. Right? Big kind of trick or skill. I hate the word trick, but the big kind of takeaway or easy way to kind of remember that when we're multiplying by whole numbers is really this idea of our exponent tells us the number of zeros that should be on the end. Now, if we're taking the same numbers, but instead we're doing division, right? For multiplication, when we're talking about whole numbers, not fractions, we know our products are going to be greater than our factors. For division, when we're talking about whole numbers, again, not fractions, whole numbers, we know our quotient should be less than our dividend. So I know that my quotient should be less than 4. Well, that would make sense because this is still 4 divided by 1,000. I can write that as a fraction. 4 divided by 1,000. So what would be my quotient? 4 thousandths. Okay? Now, your math journal is going to talk a lot about this shifting of the decimal. The decimal point doesn't actually shift in math. The digits shift around it. Brown gave me this great analogy, kind of to think of the decimal point as the sun, and then the digits are the planets that rotate around it, right? What we're looking at here is we're looking at how the digits shift by the decimal point. So say we were to look at this example that I just gave you. So let's just look at the multiplication, right? So when we're looking at 4 as a whole number, and we put our decimal point there. Okay, so 4.0. We're all in agreement that that's how we would write 4 as a whole number. Now, I needed to shift how many places and in what direction? The 4, not the decimal point. The decimal point really stays put, okay? And if I have 3, 4, right? I have my 4 started in the ones place, but then it needs to shift how many places? 3 to the left. 1, oh, terrible loop. 2, 3, and I end up here in the thousands place. to give us 4,000. Same idea for that division. So it was 4 divided by 10 to the power of 3. Still my same whole number. The decimal point is still in the same place. But this time it's coming from the left, it's moving from the left, from the ones place, 1, 2, 3 places to the right to show 4,000s. Because remember, as our digits shift to the right, they get lesser in value. Every time they shift to the right, they are divided by 10. Every time they shift to the left, they are multiplying by 10. Okay? So the book talks about this idea of the decimal point moving. Again, the decimal point doesn't really move, and it kind of trips you up with them with the left and the right. It's really important to just understand, though, are you multiplying? Are you dividing? In which direction should your digits be moving? Are you going to end up with a larger product, or are you going to end up with a product that is less than your factors? Well, that won't make sense, right, when you're talking about whole numbers. So say we are looking at another decimal. So I have 3 and 45 hundredths. We're all in agreement? If I take this 3 and 45 hundredths and I multiply it by 10 to the power of 3. Well, let's do something different. Let's do 10 to the power of 2, just for argument's sake, right? So this is 3 and 45 hundredths times 100. Agreement? Yes. Now, can I do the same thing that I did before when I did 4 times 10 to the power of 3 and just add 3 zeros? Can I do that? Can I just do this? So now my new answer is this. Does that make sense? Oh no, but then now I'm going to do this because I want to move, right? Does that make sense? No, it shouldn't make any sense to you because what are you doing? You're doing 3 and change times 100. So if you're rounding, you should know this is near 3 times 100 is 300. Ballpark estimate. Is this reasonable? No, it's not reasonable. It doesn't make any sense because that trick, that kind of easy way to do it, doesn't apply when we're talking about decimals. And that's why I want you to think about the shifting of the digits, okay? So now our 3, so if I was going to put these in, they'd be here. 3 and 45 hundredths times 10 to the power of 2. This 3 is in the ones place. Is it going to move to the left to get greater, or is it going to go to the right to become less? You're multiplying. It's getting greater. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to keep my decimal point the same place, okay? Just putting as many pieces as I can because I don't want to mess it up, right? My 3 starts in the ones place. I'm moving it 1, 2 times 10 times 10 because this is 10 times 10. So it ends up over there in the hundreds place. I put in my 4, I put in my 5, 345. Does that make more sense with my estimate that it was than my previous one when I just added the zeros? It definitely does. Now your book looks at it and it thinks of it, right? All right, so 3 and 45 hundredths, 2 decimal points, 1, 2, 345. But then you're starting to think this idea of left and right, this doesn't answer the question as to where your digits move, which is really more of the takeaway that I want you to come from this, okay? Now, let's do division. And for the sake of argument, we can just do like, so 46 and 7/10, I'm sorry, divided by 10 to the power, let's do 3 again. Why not? So is my quotient going to be greater or less than my dividend of 46 and 7/10? It's going to be less, right? Now, we know division, that doesn't give us like this idea of just adding the 3 zeros. So if I have this, so what is 46 times, this is divided by 1,000. So 46 and 7/10. If I have my decimal point in the same place. So 46 starts there. Sorry, I run out of room. If my 4, I'm looking at my 4. Is it going to go? It's here in the tens place. If I'm dividing it by 1,000, is my 4 going to shift to the left and get greater? Or is it going to shift to the right and be less? Giving you time to answer. You're going to go to the right. Your digit is shifting to the right. It is decreasing in value. 3, 1 divided by 10. 2 divided by 10. 3 divided by 10. 10 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. The 6 was here. 1, 2, 3. The 7 was here. 1, 2, 3. So what do I end up with? Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. 467 10,000s. I am dividing this into 1,000 pieces. Okay? So this is a lot to really think about. And when you're looking in your math journal, it does start to talk about the shifting of the decimal. What I want you guys to really think about is this idea of when you're dividing, when you divide, your digits shift in what direction? Right. The decimal point, if it moved, it doesn't move. But if it moved, if I was taking this decimal point, 1, 2, 3, the decimal point moves to the left. And this is where the right-left confusion can fall into play. So I want you to focus more on your on where the digits are going. When you're dividing, the digits go to the left. Yes, left, they get greater. Your decimal point moves to the right. Okay? We're going to give this a shot today, guys. This is something very new with us giving you a lesson via YouTube, right? Now, we have this video, which according to the directions, hopefully you're watching this first because this is what I wanted you to start with, okay? I'm also going to be putting up this anchor chart, which should give you some helpful ways to kind of reference points to go back to, okay? So that'll be a document. Mrs. Critelli also added another video, and then there is another video from Khan Academy that I very strongly recommend that you watch. He sometimes talks a little bit slower than I do, and he has multicolors. He doesn't use a 2.5-year-old whiteboard, but it gives you a lot of really great information. And if you're having trouble, if you want to watch this again, I strongly encourage you to do so. If you want to watch that, just hearing it from different angles. If you have other questions, you're going to reach out to Mrs. Critelli and we're going to do our best to support you, virtually. This is not one of those things that we're doing one day and I want it mastered. Okay, we're going to do it today. We're going to do it tomorrow. We're going to take a little break. We're going to look at it again next week. But this is a big concept that I want you to understand, because when we get into multiplying and dividing decimals, again, it's not just the algorithm. My job would be really easy if I could just tell you, okay, so see that? Move the decimal this many times. Well, that's all well and good, but you're not going to know why you're doing that, when you're supposed to do that, what it means. And all of this, I promise there's a reason behind it. When we look at this, this is going to lend itself for when we get into multiplying decimals, and then dividing decimals, and why we're doing what we're doing with the decimal point. We're not just moving it and putting it back and taking it away and bumping it up just for fun. There are reasons behind it. And I promise that all of this is kind of that back building to get us there. Okay. So you are doing pages, I just lost the page. 196 and 197 in your math journal. Remember, standard notation, result in standard notation, that's the teacher fancy pants way of asking for just the regular number. So once you do the dividing or the multiplying, what did you get, right? And then the direction. So the direction of the decimal point, you can talk about that. And then the number of places, that's more of what I'm looking for. Like, how many places did it go? In what direction did you move your decimal point? Okay, you moved your decimal point to the right, but that means that your digits shifted to the left. So we're going to get there, and we're going to do this one day at a time. Have fun, and I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it and all the takes. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.